first test you will take, and most times it's over a video call. Sometimes you see someone in person, and it's not just normally the way you respond to conversation. It's a conversation. You're going to be conversing with someone, your examiner, so you'll be asking you some questions, and you need to answer it like normally the way you answer your friends, the way you discuss with, or just assume someone meets you outside your country. Probably you are in the United Kingdom, or you're in Canada, or you're in US, and someone meets you to ask you some questions. Okay, so the way you answer them, because you're having in mind that they are not from your country, you're having in mind that they don't understand your dialect and the way you pronounce some things. You're having in mind that they need you to explain some things clearly for them. Okay, so that means instead of saying I live in Bende, someone in the UK or somewhere, when you tell the person I'm living in Bende, they don't really know where Bende is, they don't know which country it is. So it's going to make you to be more elaborate, as elaborate as possible. So that's the mindset you should have when you're going for your speaking exam. Who is disturbing? Oh, Mr. Nicholas, your background is so noisy. What's happening? You didn't mute yourself. Or perhaps you're doing something else. Please, let's try not to distract others, okay? Distract others. Okay, that's notwithstanding. Let's go ahead with what we're saying. So that is the mindset you should have in the first place when you are going for your speaking test, okay? So after now, I want you to make up your mind. I would like us to practice, because practice, of course, makes someone to be perfect. So let's talk about the timing and the requirement. Usually the IELTS speaking text, I think is the test that take less time, the least time. Yes, it takes about 11 to 14 minutes. So you just be conversing with someone for 11 to 14 minutes. And it have 3 parts: the part 1, the part 2, and the part 3. In the part 1, your examiner will ask you a question about yourself. Topics include your hometown, your newspaper, about music, about shopping, about whether you're schooling or whether you are into business. So we'll be asking you just more like a random question about yourself, just like someone getting to know you. Imagine if you meet someone, a native speaker in UK, and it's asking you, do you work or study? You just say, I work. It's a good answer, but it's not good enough. You have to explain yourself. You have to be as you have to explain yourself, but be as open as possible. Now, there are certain things you might not want to let out, but at least you have to answer the question so that it's clear. So that it's not when I ask you, do you work or study, you say you work. I will not, normally, definitely, I'm going to ask you, where do you work? What do you work at? So instead of making conversation boring, because that makes conversation boring, it means you can't have a good conversation. So by the time you know all those things, I will start asking you, because they are all related to do you work. So the right answer when someone asks you, do you work? You have to explain, yes, I am working with so company. I'm working as the stock manager. I started working there 2019 till date. The place has been pretty good. My managers are loving. I've actually gained a promotion severally. Just explain instead of making the conversation boring. So it gives a lot of impression and also earns you a lot of mark, because it simply means, yes, you have the words, you know how to express yourself. Okay, then the part two, they're going to give you a question like this. You can see in the box, like they are maybe describe a childhood friend, or describe something or something. So this is a description. You're going to explain. You're going to describe, either you are describing something or you're explaining. And the best way to do this is to tell a story of what happened. Please tell a story. Tell a story of that thing in the past. Tell a story of that thing in the future. Tell a story of that thing presently. Tell a story. That's the best way to get a mark. Because when you're telling a story, when it comes to fluency, you're flowing very well. When it comes to your using speech, your sentence, you're using 3 range of sentence: past, present, and future. Then your pauses, you won't be pausing now, because when you're telling story, you know that you flow very well. You don't really have to pause. So all the criteria they're marking you with, you'll be able to get good mark. Unlike when you are trying to answer based on the bullet points, your answer will be limited and you will be having a lot of pauses. Then the part 3 is now discussion. You will do discussion, discussing about general topic. Part 1 is usually about you. Part 3 is usually about every other thing around you. Maybe your friends, your relative, your boss, your culture, just discussion about general other things around you. So it's discussion. When you say discussion, you really have to discuss. Okay? Now, there are rules you have to kind of keep. Okay, one, in pronunciation, some people make a lot of mistake. We have our accents. Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, we have our accent. That's why when a Yoruba man talks, a typical word, you know. When a typical Igbo man talks, you know. When a typical Yoruba person talks, you know. But you have to know one thing that will help you to do well is to understand your weakness. Like now, the Indians, they know that they pronounce W as V. They understand their weakness and they will be trying to work on it. Now, sometimes some people, that if you practice, all these things will be dictated. Some people, their word ends. So some people, they pronounce this word ends as word ends. Word ends. Should be word ends. Word ends. Pronounce clearly. Some people, green apples, you hear something like green apples. Green apples. So let's work on our pronunciation. And it's when you practice that these things will be dictated. Some 3x, 3s. It's as if it's a word, it's a one word. He asked, he asked, asked. So it's when you practice blue eye, you hear something like blow eyes, blow eyes. 2 onions, you hear something like 2 onions. This is a correct kind of compiled based on the popular mistakes that examiners have been reporting. So please, our pronunciation should be something we have to work on. Okay, so for the part 2, they will give you time to prepare, 1 minute to prepare, and then you start your talking. So it's always good you tell a story. Like for instance, if the question says describe your favorite leisure time, then I can say my favorite leisure time when I was a small child, I think about my 9 years, I prefer playing on the sand, creating something like sand pits, building some castles, And also, I love playing in the rain, running around, most times naked. I learned how to do some of my crafts during my leisure time. That's why I have this special talent of building castles. I've grown to become an architect, something like that. So presently, my leisure times are usually going to a recreational place, playing Ludo, seeing football, and most times having my nap. So you see, I've talked about it when I was small, and sometimes this actually doesn't. I can't talk about my leisure time in the future. So sometimes you won't have something to talk about that thing in the future. So in that case, if you've talked about yes, and you see that okay, I can't really talk about this in the future, you can still think about something. And also, I remember when I was a baby, my mom told me that I usually relax when she carries me on her bosom. So I think that's also my leisure time. So I usually feel relaxed on her bosom. And in school, I think my favorite room is the library. So they call me bookworm, probably because I'm always there going through the books. I like reading some novels. I usually like some novels by Aristotle. Now, yes, there is no novel by Aristotle, but you can lie. You can make up story. The only thing you just have to make sure that you are speaking a correct English. Make sure that so that it's not, because one way to help you, instead of starting to think for all these novel writers, you can just put a word there. Nobody is going to check whether Aristotle have written a book before or not. So it will help you to be spontaneous, and outspoken. Because that time you're trying to say, I love novels by they're counting it like you have issues finding the right word. Your fluency is losing mark. Your fluency is losing mark. So your fluency will be having a lot of they will be losing you'll be losing mark there. So when you feel blank when you're talking, sometimes it happens even no matter how good you are. Sometimes in exam stage you might feel blank. Please find any word that comes. There must be a word that will pop to your head. Make up something and say, especially when that is not a word that should be checked. You understand? If I should mention a name, Aristotle is not really something they should come and be checking. And mentioning my mother's name as the author is not something they will come and be checking if there is a book that was written by Mrs. Sasuluka or Mrs. Agim. You understand? So try to make up a story. You mustn't know everything, but you can actually make up a story. It mustn't be. It's not something that they'll be trying to verify. Okay. And the third part is discussion, like I said. So now in this part one, they will give you time to prepare. The mistakes you might make during preparation is telling the examiner you are ready to begin. Please use that time, that 1 minute, let it be 1 minute. Do not start telling employer. It doesn't even give examiner, it doesn't even give you extra mark that you are telling your examiner you're ready. Then writing sentences doesn't make sense. All you need is bullet points of what you might want to talk, or maybe some phrase you want to say, or some idioms that you want to use that you just want to write down, and then find a place to fix it in your sentence. Making notes is not necessary, please. You don't have all that time. And of course, you are meant to talk, not to read. So if you are reading, it's a different ball game. You are meant to talk and not read. Okay, so there is no need making notes, not pasting the note. As you can see from topic card above, there are 4 sections, 3 bullet points, and 1 final sentence. You are required to speak for 2 minutes. So divide that by the number of sections on the topic card, and you have 30 seconds per part. While making note, try to add something for each of the 4 parts. Do not move to the next part until you think you have spoken for 30 seconds or you truly have nothing left to say. So you mustn't finish the bullet points. You know that they say they will stop you. So they say they will stop you is just to tell you that yes, they expect you to have more to say. If I tell you now, tell me a story, don't worry, I will stop you. And I told you, tell me a story about this, about that. That means I know that you might not finish telling that story and I will stop you. So you mustn't finish the bullet points. You might be talking on the bullet point and in fact, to even tell you the truth, you will be surprised that when you enter exam hall, you will not even speak up to 2 minutes, maybe 1 minute, they will stop you. Once they get what they want, they will stop you. They are not interested in you finishing that bullet point. It doesn't count. They're interested in seeing how you talk. So most times, when you're telling stories, all these things in the bullet point, you will cover them. If you practice and you tell a story on that particular thing that was asked, you see that all those things in the bullet point, you covered them. But the thing is, they will stop you. Most times, don't feel embarrassed when they stop you last time. Most times, they stop you before the time. Okay? Then reading from notes is not allowed. Not being flexible with your notes, no. You have to be flexible enough. If you feel your head is telling you something important or better to talk about, then you can talk about it and leave the note. Be as flexible as possible. Okay. Then the part 3, of course, is the part 3 is discussion. So you're meant to discuss about things. Okay. So you have to discuss about things just like you discuss. You don't, some of us are into politics, some of us do a lot of discussion at work. So you know how you discuss. So you have to be able to air your view, give your points, say a sound statement. Okay, make sound statement. Okay. So we are going to practice now. So because of course the best way to learn is to practice. So we are going to practice now. Is there anybody that is ready for a practice, for a speaking practice? Is there anybody ready for a speaking practice? Raise your hand or you drop on your chat on the chat box that yes, you are ready. Okay, Amarachi Okoye, ready. That's beautiful. So Amarachi, get a pen and a paper. Okay, you don't really the pen and the paper is just to practice for your part two, because I won't really have much time for that for practice. So get a pen and a paper. Okay, so we're going to start now. Every other person, please um be attentive and listen to us while we do this thing. If you have question, please, as you're listening, I want you to also gather questions, gather enough questions for Amarachi. Pick out where she make mistake, either in pronunciation or whatever. Pick out where she makes mistakes so that you will correct her, and all we are all going to learn from that. Okay, so Amarachi, are you ready with your pen and paper? Let me unmute you. Let me ask you to unmute. So I'm going to ask you to unmute now. Okay, so unmute yourself, Amarachi Okoye. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So let's start.
Okay.
So Amarachi, I'll be asking you some questions about your personal self. Um, do you work or do you study?
I work in a work with mutual benefit insurance company.
Okay.
So I work with mutual benefit insurance company. We are into marketing. We do a lot of we advertise our insurance products for people to buy, knowing the benefit of insurance. So we advise people to pick up an insurance policy for themselves or their kids.
Okay, so I'm just going to put this, why I said and, your examiner is not going to say and or request something more from you. They're just going to move on. But the thing is, whenever you answer a question, try as much as possible to explain further, give more information about that. Don't just answer a question and then you're quiet, okay? Answer a question and then give more information on the question that you've just answered. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I might not stop again. I'll just be, please, I'm not with pen here. That's why I say everybody, please get a pen, note issues where she's made issues so you can explain, tell her to adjust, okay? So let's forge ahead. So can you tell me about your hometown, please?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So I said, tell me about your hometown.
I am from Anambra, Anelsha local government, from Adazinuku town. It's actually a small town, a rural settlement where we have about 5,000 people living there. We have a
Okay.
yes.
So what do you like doing at your leisure time?
I like listening to music at my leisure time, dancing, and maybe watching movies.
Seeing movies. Okay. I don't do I just don't know how to keep it when it comes, because sometimes if I'm keeping it, I'll forget. Seeing movies. Okay. Um do you watch okay. Do you walk more?
Do I walk?
Do
Hello?
you walk? Do you usually walk? Abi? Do you usually walk to where? Okay, sorry. Where do you usually walk to?
I usually walk down to the market to get some things for myself or for my family.
Okay. Do you believe that you walk enough?
Yes, I believe that I walk enough because morning time I do walk to an extent to get some things. Even at evening, I also walk, maybe probably to get some things, foodstuffs for the family. And I just think maybe that's enough for the day.
So do you walk more in the past than you do nowadays?
Yes, I work more in the past because in the past I was younger. So I believe that we have more places to go, just passing out time, decide to go to see a friend, walk down the road and some other things. But now, because of the nature of our activities and the schedules at the moment, we have less time to walk around, unlike when we were younger.
Do you think people will walk more or less in the future?
I think people will work less in the future because as we are getting older, we have maybe less activities to that can make us. We have less activities to work out for.
Okay, so we'll be moving to the part two. You can see your question on the board. I will give you, ideally is 1 minute, but I'm sorry I can't give you up to 1 minute. So I'll just give you few, let me say 10 seconds to get ready.
Okay. Okay. I should answer them. I should write them out.
You get ready. That means read the question and get ready to answer it.
Okay, ma.
So when the 10 seconds is up, I'm going to tell you to start, and then you will have to talk for 2 minutes. You just don't worry, don't stop. I will be the one to stop you. Don't look at time, just talk. I'll be the one to stop you when it's 2 minutes. So your time to go through the question starts now. 10 seconds.
When when it was why you had faced it, how you did face it.
So you can start now.
Okay. Describe how. Yes. In a stressful situation, I feel weak and sometimes I feel a kind of being nervous on what will be the outcome. Okay,
Now
let me.
hold on. Please,
Okay,
please hold on. Please hold on. I think you did not understand the question. Okay, so when they said look at that 1 minute to look at the question, maybe the time I gave you wasn't enough, so I'm not blaming you. So when they give you 1 minute to look at question, the first thing you should do is to understand the question. If they ask you something else and you're saying something else, you're just losing that mark totally, like totally. So he said, describe how you behaved in a stressful situation, not how you behave. How you behaved. That means you have to tell us what stressful situation it was, and how you behaved. So even without looking at the question prompt, I know that for me to understand this question, how I behave, for me to tell you how I behaved in a stressful situation, I'm going to tell you what the stressful situation is, and then I'm going to explain to you how I behaved in that situation. I don't know if you understand.
Yes.
So I want you to have a better understanding of it. And if you want to start this part two, the best way you can say, I would like to talk about how I behave. So it's always good for you to paraphrase what the person have said, or try to say it again so that you know you're on track. I would like to talk about how I behaved in a stressful situation. So it's still another time for you to read through the question again before you start speaking. I would like to talk about how I behaved in a stressful situation. The situation happened when I was so age, so number of things happen. Put up a story. It mustn't be a real thing, but put up a story and then tell us how you reacted to that stressful situation. Okay, so let's take it again. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you can start.
How I behaved in a stressful situation. When I was working with a company, that was in the year 2000. That was August 2000. I Sorry, I have a distraction. No, shit, I can't. That was August 2000. I faced some kind of tension due to some customers that came in. So they were much and I couldn't handle it. So along the line, we lost some money due to the nature of the business. I was expecting a lot of people flopping in, and at that moment, I couldn't be able to calculate all the goods bought, and some money was lost at that point in time. I behaved that way because at a point I was confused due to the number of people I was attending at a time. So I couldn't manage the large crowd.
All right, beautiful. Now you did well. You did well. Your tone and everything, yes, it's very nice. You've tried, and I love some vocabularies you use. Trooping in, that is a very nice one. So these are most of the things that are being checked. You, like I said, you don't really need to carry a dictionary. By the time you're telling a story, you see those vocabularies will be coming out. So that is it. So we're going to move to part three. Mm, so Amarachi, what is your hobby like? Just
I like dancing because it helped me to exercise myself. So that's why I love dancing.
okay. I'm trying to get the question. So sorry, just give me some minutes. Okay, so how do people express happiness in your culture?
People express happiness in my culture by calling people together cooking and entertaining people with their favorite dishes.
Do you think happiness has any effect on people?
Not really, but I think over happiness might have a negative effect on people.
So how can people be happy?
People can be happy by trying to do what they love doing at the particular time. It could be dancing, it could be listening to music, it could be seeing movies, and all of that.
So is it good for people to be happy?
Yes, it is good for people to be happy.
That's not good enough. So you answer and then you explain why. Always have that why in your head. Why? Anything you're answering, ask yourself why. So explain why.
Okay, okay. Shall I continue?
Yes, is it good for people to be happy? You've not given me a good answer.
Yes, it is good for people to be happy because happiness relieves people of anxieties, it relieves people from high blood pressure and over worries.
Well done. Okay, so is there anybody that noticed something? Is there anything that you noticed where she made a mistake? So look, I know I asked you these questions. I just want you to see how some of the answers. So this, where do you usually walk to? You said, I'm not a frequent walker, but I sometimes enjoy strolling around my neighborhood. You know, there are certain words you could use instead of strolling. Think about, I know it's not easy, but I want you to start practicing. Think about alternative word. Anything, any question they ask you, think about alternative words to it. So it's going to help you to get a mark in your vocabulary, yes. So it shows that yes, you have more words. So if you're talking about food, anytime you're making anything about food, think about what are the other things, what are the usual languages, the usual vocabularies that are associated with food. You know, something like dishes, you see something like diet, see something like delicacy. So these things, think of them. And I know sometimes it's not really that easy to think of, but when you practice you see that they'll be coming out freely. Then if you're talking about work, you know, there's some words like strolling, um, some things like energy, um, jogging, resting. There's some certain words that you might use when you want to talk about your working, exercise, physical activity, and all the rest. And that could actually help. But overall your answers are okay. I think at a point you didn't really understand it. You have to answer every question and explain. It's not easy. Speaking is not that easy. When you just see speaking, it sounds so easy, but no, it need you to practice. Another thing to boost your mark is to introduce idioms. Idiomatic expressions is very important for you to get a better mark. And the only way you have to do that is to practice. We know a lot of idioms, you know, beating at around the bush, you know, hitting the nail on the head, dog in the house, raining cat and dog. We have a lot of them. Just think of it. By the time you're explaining something about something, you will, once you, one thing about this our brain is those things that are there. Once you tell your brain, I want to use idiom when I'm talking, I want to use idiom when I'm talking. By the time you start talking, you see your brain will be bringing it out for you. It's just conditioning your mind. Condition your mind that yes, I want to, when I want to talk about this, I want to use idioms, I want to use other words instead of that particular word. So by the time I enter a town hall and they're telling me, tell me the favorite food you like, I'll be saying my favorite meal is gari. I love it because it's a delicacy in my culture. We prepare it using some edible leaves. Like you say, I've gotten at least good enough vocabularies, things that are not, or like if I'm saying I like eating gari, it is the food I like, the food we prepare, it's prepared with some food ingredients, food everywhere. It shows that I don't have enough words. And by the time I'm saying, I can say there was a day I prepared that meal. I think that day was raining cat and dog, but I was able to still go into the rain, get those ingredients, and I prepared my meal. So I've also introduced an idiom to it. So once you've conditioned your mind, you see that they will be coming easily, and you see yourself flowing, making us proud. But not ordinarily you did well. It's very okay. It's good. I'm sure it's going to get you a good band score. But if you're looking at something from 6.578, then you really need to put more effort. We need to put more effort. Try to talk for long and maintain eye contact. Now, normally, if because you're not seeing me, if you're with your examiner and you're seeing your examiner, by the time he asks you question and then he wants you to stop, normally in conversation, now if you're talking with me and you're looking at me, that's why it's good to maintain good eye contact. By the time you're looking, he's going to signal you when he wants you to stop. So I will say, talk, explain further, go ahead, say as much as you can. He's going to signal you when to stop, probably by nodding, sometimes by saying okay, sometimes by trying to read the next question, then you really have to round up. Okay. So, but ordinarily, this is good. Is there any other person that wants to say something? Nobody. Is there anybody that want to try again? Anybody that want to try? Is there anybody that is ready for speaking? Raise your hand if you're ready. Be ready, oh. Be ready, oh. Okay, so Esther Emmanuel is ready. Okay, so Esther first, because she signified first. Okay, so after Esther, Mr. Nicholas, I will come to you. So Esther, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. Evo Justina. So now I don't know who raised hand first though. Evo Justina raised hand. Esther typed. So please, can we do it this way? Esther, Nicholas, and Justina, please, please. I do really capture who asked for first, but everybody is going to talk. So you can unmute yourself, Esther.
I'm
And
back.
are you ready? Are you ready for the speaking?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so good evening, Esther. So this is the part one of your test. I'll be asking you some questions about your personal life. Can you please describe a place where you live?
Okay, I live in the northern part of Nigeria, just state precisely, which happens, to the best of my knowledge, which happens to be one of the peaceful states in Nigeria. Um, not, it's not a crowded environment because, me personally, I don't love a crowded environment. So I really love the state.
Okay. Okay, so can you tell me the means of transportation in your village?
Ah, okay. The means of transportation in my village is bike, which happened just about recent because when I was smaller, there was nothing like bike. So we trek within the village. And the people that have to travel, only one vehicle that comes in the morning. And once that vehicle goes till the following day, or maybe it happens twice or three times in a week. So, but at the moment, it's only bike. Within the village, it's only bike that is available.
What's your favorite mode of transportation?
Hey, it's a vehicle. Honestly, I've tried others. I've had the opportunity of traveling by plane and on boat. But honestly speaking, I didn't really enjoy this. I think I feel safer when I'm in the vehicle. When I'm on the land, I feel safer. So I prefer being in a vehicle than any other means of transportation.
Okay, so that will be all for part one. So part two, I'm sharing your question on the screen. So I'll give you 20 seconds to prepare, and I'm going to tell you when to start talking. So your time to prepare starts now.
Am I to start now?
I'll tell you when. Okay, you can start.
Okay, the first time I used my cell phone was to write exams, and actually I supposed to use a laptop the school, but I think there was an issue, so I had to use my cell phone, and that was 2016. That was like 5 years ago, and it was faster. It was faster because a lot of people had gone inside the exam hall to use a laptop, and they were really having a lot of issues. So, but me using my cell phone, it was faster, it was easier, and I felt great about it because a lot of people couldn't write their exams on time that day because they didn't have their smartphone. They were using phone that could not access the kind of work we wanted to do. So I felt great, and even the people that went inside to use the laptop, they they were having a lot of issues. Some people had answered their question up to like 50%, and the thing just went off again, and they have to start over. And a lot of people had issues with their results. But when I felt great because I was able to use my phone without issue, with the supervision of the external supervisors, and the results came out fine. I felt great.
You don't stop until your examiner stops you.
Pardon? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I said you're not meant to stop until your examiner tells you to stop.
Oh,
You're meant to talk until you are asked to stop.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So that was what happened. And because I'm a kind of person that I'm not keen when it comes to the electronic phones. I wasn't really keen about it. But from that moment, I felt that it's also very important to have a cell phone, Android phone that can at least access our internet, or for me to be able to do some personal stuff without going to cafe or without a laptop. And
Okay. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. So well done. You've tried. You're flowing well. You have words to say, but I noticed some issues, and that and the fillers was much. The fillers,
Okay.
try to reduce fillers, and if you're thinking of ideas, there are certain phrases you could use instead. You could use things like, I think it was, if I could remember, let me
Okay.
quickly think about what it was. So these are better phrases than saying oh no, and your and is too much. There are other synonyms to and. You can say also, you can say in addition, you can say
Okay.
another reason is, those are things you could use instead of and. Then I noticed the H factor, exam, issue, external. H, I had the sound he. So please try to, when you're pronouncing this.
What do you call it? H factor.
You know, there are certain words that when people pronounce, not just certain words that when people pronounce,
Okay.
there is a
I
sound.
can't hear you, please.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you
Can
now.
you hear me now?
Yes, I
So
can
I
hear you
said
now.
there are certain words, not just you, that when people pronounce, they usually have that H sound attached to it. Okay, so that's why I said H factor. It's not just you, but I just want you to be aware so that when you're pronouncing things, just be aware of it. Overall, you did well. We have not just done part three, so we are going to do our part three now. I just want to give you this so that you will make adjustment for three. And part three, I'm going to give you maybe a final info about your performance. So, are you ready for part three?
Yes, I'm ready.
What are the benefits of learning a foreign language?
Okay, learning a foreign language has a very, I'm sorry.
Are you busy? Okay, so I think I can't hear her again. Probably okay, she muted. So it's fine. So the next person should be Mr. Nicholas. Please unmute yourself, sir. Can you hear me? You can click on the mic so you can unmute yourself. Okay, so while we're waiting for Mr. Nicholas, Miss Avo Justin, are you ready? Please unmute yourself. Okay, so sorry,
Hello.
Mr. Nicholas is here. All right, so yeah, hello.
Yeah, good evening.
So good evening. Let me try. Olivia, don't worry, you're going to try. And as anybody that wants to try tonight, we're going to try. So, Mr. Nicholas, are you ready for the speaking test? More like a mock test.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so I'll be asking you some questions about your personal life. Um, do you work or do you study? Can you hear me?
In this part of our country. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear
Hello?
you.
Okay. I said in this part of our country, studying without work sometimes is difficult. So to start answering your question, I will tell you I work and I study and I work part-timely. For the studies, I study at the Federal Polytechnic, Auchi Polytechnic, and Auchi Polytechnic is in Edo State, the southern part of Nigeria. And I work as a receptionist in one of the hotels still in Edo State in Auchi. So to put it together, I work and
Okay.
I study.
Okay, so why do you choose that kind of work?
Yes, I work as a receptionist because it is the work that is close to my schooling environment. That is one. And two, is a work that give me time for my studies. I do my studies in the daytime because normally the schools will open around the hours of 9 a.m. till about 4 p.m. Then my work has given me my place of work gave me the opportunity to come between the hour of 6 p.m. and I work till 12 a.m. So that I think it helped me to combine the two.
So do you like your job?
Yes, I do. If I don't like job, I wouldn't be working at all. I like my job. It's good because it helped me to take care of my responsibilities, my needs. It pays my bills, even my academics. It helped me to pay and even do some other things outside academics.
Is there anything you hate about your job?
Not really hate, only that I told you the hours I work. It's about 6 p.m. to around 12. So most times they are supposed to be the hours for sleeping or as a student where I will be reading. It's a discomfort though, not really hate.
Okay. So what was your dream job before you got the job you are in now?
Okay, I wouldn't regard it as a past tense or was, only that I want to be an engineer. That is the reason for my studies, and the qualification is what is still depriving me from becoming an engineer. By the grace of God, I will still be an engineer. I prefer to work as a marine engineer in the sea. I like handling welding tools to work under the river. Is the thing that I've like to become, and I'm still working to become that by the grace of God.
Okay, so that will be end of the part one. And I'm going to share a cue card with you.
Okay.
And yes, you have some time to prepare, and then you have to talk for about 2 minutes. So don't worry if I stop you. When it's time, I'm going to stop you. Please don't stop before the time. So I'll be sharing it on the screen now.
Okay.
Can you see the question?
Not yet. Not yet. Okay. I think it was displayed.
So I will give you 20 seconds to get ready. I will tell you when to start. So your time to get ready starts now. So you can start speaking.
Okay. I like to talk about an important thing I learned not during my school or college. Before I started schooling, There are some things I learned. I learned this when I was like an infant, living with my parents. There is this hobby of my father, farming, fishing to be precise. I used to follow him to the river, spread the nets, catch some fishes. And by so doing, I started learning. And even at the time, I could catch crabs, prawns, and all that. So it came to a time that I became interested in this, and even fishing much and selling to make some money.
Okay, okay. So that's okay. So that will be end of the part two. Part three. So what do children learn from their parents?
It depends on the parent. It depends on what a parent is doing at the time. Children can learn several things. For me, as a child, I learned a lot of things. One, the way you address people, your culture, how you greet, even eating as a child. You learn from your parents, addressing visitors, the way you dress, your your habit for so many things like reading, doing your assignment as a child from school. All these are things you learn from parents. Then learning from parents doesn't mean that maybe when you cannot do certain things for yourself. There are times when you are grown to an extent, you have some challenging that you can meet your parent and share your. So when somebody asks you for an assistance, for example, you could meet your parent and seek opinion. How do I do this? Somebody is asking for this. Should I do this? Should I do that? Whatever they give to you, it's so many for parents.
Okay, so are some children well behaved because of their parents?
Certainly, yes. Sometimes you see children, their behavior has a lot to tell from how they were being brought up by their parents. I take an example. I have a nephew that stays with one of my aunts. As a child, I think he picked up the child when the child was like 7, 8, and this child is about 25 or thereabout now. The aunt is complaining that the child is not well behaved. So my question is, this child grew up with you. All he learned was what you taught him. You complaining that the child is not well behaved is as a result of what you did, what you inculcated in him. So with this, I can say that a child gets his own behavior. Some can be well behaved because of the way the child is being brought up. If the child is still not well brought up, it still depends on the parents. Though there are some parents, there are some children, no matter what you do, it's like a kind of hereditary. They are born to be like that. I would say that the behavior of a father or a mother has effect on the behavior of the child. The training has effect on the behavior of the child.
Okay, so is it necessary for adults to learn new things?
Yes, very important because, like the saying goes, when you fail to learn, when you fail to learn is when you fail to grow. Learning is
You
a
learn
paramount.
to fail.
When you fail to learn, it means you fail to grow. Learning
Okay.
is a part of human. Whether you are young or you are old, learning is important. For example, like in this part of the country, we were not used to computer, even mobile phones and all that. But with the advent of this in our community, both old and young, we started learning. Even at the time, people could not even press the OK button to receive the call. But today, whether you are old or young, people have learned how to make and receive calls confidently. So learning is very important as an old person.
Okay, so we've come to the end, and you did well. It's a very nice one. I don't really your fluency, for instance, girls and tax achievements. Yes, of course. That's tax response. You flow well. You weren't struggling with words or with ideas. So it's more like you have the ideas already, and there was no fillers. So that aspect you did well. Then your words and cohesion is okay. I like the way you started your section 2, your choice of words. Then where I know I actually picked, I think it's more like in the grammatical range and accuracy, your sentence. So I know you meant for me as a child, but you didn't, your sentence doesn't show that there is a comma after the for me. So it's more like for me as a child. So it's more like for you as a child, you're presently now. It doesn't really show
Okay.
like
Okay.
it sounded like ambiguous. You understand, God, you understand. Then when you were talking, you said my question is, so it's more like you were asking the examiner. I think it should have been my question to them is, or my
Okay.
question was. So my question is more like you're asking the examiner a question. My question is, you understand? So aside that, you did well. Just keep it up. And I love you adding some expressions, learning to fail, failing to learn. And you say failing to grow. There's a way you put it, but at least is a nice one. Is a nice one. So you're speaking. I will say you're good to go. That's what I would say about speaking for you. Okay, but
Thank
don't
you.
relent. Still try to practice as much as you can and try to add some idiomatic expressions. See a way you can always add them when you're talking, and it really help you to
All
get
right.
more.
Thank
Okay,
you so
so
much.
next person, yeah, you're welcome. The next person is Evo Justina. Is there another person outside Evo Justina? Because we are really going into midnight. After this time now, she is midnight. Olivia. All right, so Evo, are you ready? Can you unmute yourself? If you're ready and you know it, unmute yourself.
Yeah, I've done that.
All right. So you are welcome and you're ready, right?
Yes, thank you.
So I'll be asking you some questions. Your part 1,
All right.
and let me get ready. Yes. Okay. So I'll be asking you some questions about where you live. Do you live in a house or an apartment?
Actually, living in an apartment. Actually, the apartment consists of this three-story building, and I live in the down floor. I get to live with my family and a relative of mine, just like my husband and a relative in the apartment. So, uh,
Please, you have to work on your audibility. I'm struggling to hear you.
hello,
Okay.
you said?
Yes, hello. So I was actually struggling to hear you. Please, maybe you try to be
Okay,
more
okay,
audible.
okay. So I should.
Okay, so you subsequently just try to be audible so that we can hear
Okay,
you better.
okay, okay.
Those being audibility is part of the communication too.
Ah,
All right. So can you
okay.
describe the place where you live?
Actually, just like I said, I live in an apartment. It's actually the apartment around it contains is a three-story building actually, but I live in the down floor with my family, and around the house we have like flowers surrounding the house, the compound, and inside the decorations are okay. This apartment has like three rooms and a living and a sitting room. So actually, I have my own part of the room and likewise the others. So the compound, I would say the apartment is really nice and the compound is conducive for everyone living around there, living in there. Actually, am I to keep talking or you still can't hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Did you hear
So
my
what I wanted,
question?
yes, you didn't hear what I said.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. So I asked, what is your favorite room in your apartment?
Okay, I will say my favorite room is the master bedroom because it's quite spacious and the decoration is there is quite different from that of the other rooms, and actually it really looks more beautiful than the other rooms, and I love staying there most times, so that just when I want to be alone, I just like going in there because the person staying there doesn't really stay around here. So when they're not around, I prefer spending some of my time there.
Okay. Which room does your family spend most time in?
Okay, my family actually spend more time in the living room because that's where everyone gets together to eat and also watch see the TV and also discuss when they have like a family meeting or something.
What can you see when you look from your windows?
Actually, when I look from my window, I see like other neighboring houses. Like I see a lot of building around and a three-story building from the back of the window. The window in my room, I see a three-story building behind it. So, and the one in the living room, we actually see the road and the flowers around the compound and people passing by.
What sort of accommodation would you most like to live in?
I would love to live in my own house because there is more of a freedom in your house. You don't have to pay rentage or have to share stuff with the neighbors. So you just have to live the way you want to live. So if I'm asked, I would prefer having my own house.
Okay, so that will be the end of speaking part one. I'm going to share a cue card with you as your question for part two, and I'll give you some minutes to think about what you want to talk about, and then you will talk for about 1 minute.
Okay.
So I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to share it on your screen, on the screen now.
All right.
Okay, can you see it?
Not yet. Okay, I can see it now.
So I'm going to give you 20 seconds to get ready. Just read the question and get ready. I'm going to tell you when to start, and of course, I'm going to stop you when
All
it's
right.
time. Your time to prepare starts now. You can start.
Okay. I would love to talk about actually something that made me happy and surprised at the same time. So I will start from actually it's been I can't really remember the actual date it happened. There was this time last year when I had to get my phone was actually giving me a headache, so I needed a new phone. So I didn't know how to get one because then I was not working. I didn't know how to get one because then I was not working. So a friend of mine, it was actually on my birthday, a friend of mine surprised me with a brand new phone. So on that day, I wasn't expecting this phone. I was not expecting anything new. I was not expecting it. It was actually a surprise. So he just came in as a surprise. He called me on phone. Where you at home? I said, yes, I'm at home. Oh. But like, is there no, are you not hanging out or something? I said, no, I would just prefer to spend my birthday in the house. So when he just came in, he was like, okay, I have something for you. I said, okay, what's it? Then he brought out the new phone. I was quite surprised. I was excited, and I was excited. And then when I saw the phone, it was a brand new phone, and the phone I've always been dreaming of having. So and it really made me happy and surprised for a kind of friend like that to get that phone because he's just like a casual friend to me. He doesn't he's just a casual friend to me, a childhood friend, but I never expected him to get such a huge thing for me. So it really made me happy and also surprised at the same time because it came to me as a surprise because actually I said my phone was actually hanging and also giving me some kind of problems and because I lacked the
Okay.
I didn't have the money to get the new one. So that giving me that as a
Okay.
surprise
Thank
was
you.
really a blessing to me. So okay.
All right. Thank you. So we'll be moving to part three. Um, how do people express happiness in your culture? I think I've asked the question. How do people express happiness in your culture?
I would say in my culture, the Igbo culture mostly, people express their joy by celebrating. Birthday party, you see them celebrating. For example, when a newborn baby is being born, you see them celebrating it. Or when something new, they get to build a new house, you see them celebrating it. Anything new that makes them very happy, that brings joy to them, they always express it by celebrating with other people around the neighborhood and also with their family and friends.
Okay. Do you think has any effect on people?
Hello?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you.
So I said, do you think happiness has any effect on people?
Okay, in terms of the effect, actually, I would say if it's a negative or positive effect for me, I would say in the side of the positive effect, actually happiness really have a positive effect to people, and that is keeps you away from thinking about the bad past things that have happened to you, and also it keeps your mind free, because when you are happy your mind seems to be free. You get to forget about all the past, all the things you have been through, all the stress. It's just a kind of overwhelming joy that you can't control, that makes you feel relaxed and also comfortable. So
So
in my
is it good
opinion,
for
I would
people
say,
all right, okay. So is it good for people to be unhappy?
yeah, in my opinion, I would say people actually have right to their emotions, because when someone faces a situation whereby they have to be unhappy, you don't expect them to be happy at that moment. They have to react to their emotions. So I would say actually is good, and at the same time is not good, because you can't pretend to be happy when you are not happy. Actually, you have to act according to your emotion, but you don't have to take it that long, like being unhappy for long. You have to act and then come off it and then get back to being happy.
Good, good. So I like this last word you said, come off it. Is a nice expression, is a nice one. So most of these things you don't even know when you say it, but because you're being yourself, you're saying it from you, then you see yourself using nice words. Okay, so these are what I noticed. Overall, you did well. Even occasionally there were some pauses. Obviously, I know you're searching for ideas, but please don't make your pauses to be so obvious. You can think of a phrase you could say while you're thinking. So now you know
Mm.
you're thinking about something to say. Um, give me a minute to think about that. Okay, I could say. So while you're saying, give me a minute, you're thinking, or that's a tough one, but I'll say I've not really thought about that, but I think so. These are ways you could use to hold the conversation while you're doing your thinking. Don't just
Okay.
pause. Then I noticed your actually, yes, actually was if they should bring out your what is it called if they should type out what you're saying, actually it's going to be so much there. Okay, so actually
Okay.
you can try to hold it back sometimes so that you don't produce multiple time actually. Okay,
Okay.
you can think
Yeah.
of some other alternatives you could use instead of actually. Then I know I asked you to describe something, describe an apartment. When I ask you, tell me about the kind of place you live, so I want a description. That's why I later asked you describe. So tell me kind of. So I want to know kind of. Is it true two-bedroom flat? Is it a bedroom? Is it? I want the kind of, not really who you live with. So it's a different question. Kind
I
of
think
place
I
you live.
mentioned Okay, I think I mentioned
Eh?
living in an apartment with a four rooms, or was that not the one you're talking about?
Okay, okay. You
The
talked
four
about,
rooms,
but I think
two rooms,
well
yes.
more on
I said
who you
I
live
said it
with.
was
Yourself.
like a duplex. Then I was living down in the first floor, then with a three rooms and just a living room, and I think I said that, but I don't know if it's in
Oh,
this
sorry,
article.
sorry. Probably I wasn't really paying attention then. Then in
Maybe
your
not
part
yet.
two, when you were describing it more like a conversation, you were saying he was like, and I said he was like, so he was like doesn't really show. It's not an expression to say when
Mm.
somebody said something. Okay, you could have said, you could a better way to say it. He said and I said, he now said, or
Okay.
he now quoted, or in some, but like he was like, and I said, it's not really the right thing. But yes, you did well. It was really fantastic. I enjoyed it. I really did. Okay. You just need to work on one or two. Yes, just work on one or two. Your pronunciations are good. Just work on one and two, and you're good to go.
Thank you.
So to practice, look for someone you can practice with. You can get a practice. I think there is a way group does this. You can get a practice mate on the group. Anybody that is ready to do speaking practice with you, you people do the speaking, record yourself, and send. That is another way you can do the stuff, so that you can practice. The more you practice, the more you get to perfection.
All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So unfortunately, Miss Olivia is sleeping already, so I think we're going to call it a day.
All right.
Abby,
Mm.
Miss Olivia, I hope you're sleeping. She don't want to unmute herself. All right, I've actually granted everybody to unmute, and since she don't want to unmute herself, so it's going to be a good night, right?
Yeah.
Please,
I'm going to see you all
hello.
in the question.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yes, please, I
Yes.
want to know, like this question that says describe something that surprised you and make you happy. Will it come with things like what it was, who did it,
I can't
how?
hear you again. No.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
But I am no longer
Please
seeing
go
that
ahead.
display. I'm no longer seeing that display. What I was just saying, when you get
I
a
want to
question to
share.
speak on,
I want to share the document. You understand? So I think the question you're asking now is very okay, because I want to share the document where I asked the question from, and yes, they have a kind of it's answered. The questions are answered. So I want to bring to where they answered those questions as you ask your question. So please go ahead.
okay. Like I said, the question you shared that was asking something like where, how did it happen? It give me points on where to speak on. I want to know in the exam, will it come with a question like that? Or is this something one has to have at the back of his brain?
I really don't understand.
Do you hear me,
Okay,
please?
are you? I can hear you, but I didn't really understand your question, please. These are the questions I asked you, Abi.
Hello?
How can people be happy? Is it the question I asked you?
Are you okay?
Can you see the screen?
It's not necessarily the one you asked me. For what you asked everybody, there was always something like, yes, I'm looking at the screen now. I'm looking at the screen. No, this is not what I'm trying to.
So go ahead with your question. We were explaining something. But just ask your question. I think I will still understand you if you ask your question.
Hello?
Are you there? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I think the network is poor.
I can hear you. Just go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. There is a display of question in the second question after the
Okay, so if I understand you, just like this question that says, okay, there's no problem, I'm going to drop it on the channel. So if I can get what you're asking, you say that just like this number 5 question that said describe something that surprised you and made you happy. And then there are bullet points there, like what it was, who did this, how you found out. So you're asking if that's how the question will be on the exam day. If that's your question, yes, that's how it's going to be on exam day. So there's going to be a question, and there's going to be a bullet point, okay? Question prompts asking you, or more like telling you specifically what you should talk about. And if you seek my counsel, then I will tell you it's better to tell a story, because if you're talking based on these bullet points, you notice that you will be pausing a lot, because you have to look at the next question to see what you're going to say. So if they want it to be like that, they would have still be asking you what was it, who did it, and then you'll be answering like that. So they want you to say it. It's a long turn. It's called a long turn. So they want
Okay,
you to
please.
talk without pausing. You
Hello.
understand? So
Yes,
yes, hello.
I just wanted to know whether this one would be a part of the question, like this
Yes,
what
that's
it
how
was.
the question is.
Okay,
Exactly.
okay, okay,
Part of the
okay,
question.
okay. Thank you.
All right. So please, if you're not in our channel, drop on the WhatsApp group so I can send you the link. I'm going to send this material to the WhatsApp group. You have other questions there. You can practice at your own leisure time. Go through, see how it was suggested. These are guesswork, okay? Just guesswork based on the things that Ielts has been asking. So this marker is good when it comes to speaking. Most of his guesswork comes out in the exam hall. Okay, I think recently now questions are usually about English. I think there was a part of question here that was asking question about if you've learned a foreign language or something. So that's, I think some people that have gone through IELTS recently, that's the question they keep getting. Yeah, describe an English class or lesson you enjoyed. When do you start learning English? What language do you like? Then they are more like in language now. So if you want to, you can practice more about language, but just get prepared. Anything can be asked. It could be about transportation, it could be about art, it can be about English, it can be about your hobby. So just try, you can look at some of the ways suggested answers you could give, okay, so that you further get yourself prepared. But the most important thing is to be speak as natural as possible. If you cram something to the hall, they will detect, and that will make you reduce your mark. Okay, so Evo Justina, you want to say something? Please unmute yourself and say what you want to say. Okay,
Okay.
please.
That was
Yes.
about, sorry, it was about the writing we did. I think I submitted my assignment on the group WhatsApp, but I've not gotten a reply or corrections on it, so I don't know.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I will definitely attend to it. Okay, I will attend to it. Probably tomorrow. Today is already gone, so by tomorrow, if you can, you just tag me to it again. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Please, I have
See
a
you all
question,
in the
please.
group.
Excuse me, ma,
All
please.
right.
I have
Go
a question.
ahead.
Please, there is where I'm having issue pertaining to this. When answering a question, like when you asked us a question, like what is best food, for example, why saying it along the line is when should we stop explaining? Do the examiner have to tell us it's okay, stop, or we just continue talking? Where is the limit that we can explain or say something and maybe it's okay, we break and stop answering?
Okay. See now, the whole thing is you providing a good answer to the question, a well explained answer to the question. That is it. When you answer a question and you tell why, you explain why, then it's good. Then another thing, because some people actually doesn't really know, there's no really a yardstick to tell you, okay, speak this length or this long. Okay, and some people, they are more like beating around the bush. They don't really, the words don't come out when they start. So it's more like when they speak for some time, then they will start getting some of those words, or they will kind of gain their balance. So what I would advise, if you're still struggling, I would just say you have to maintain a good eye contact with your examiner. Your examiner, of course, is a conversation. You're talking with somebody. You're not just saying something to the thin air or just recording something. You're talking to someone. So by the time you're talking and you've provided him or her with the answer, they're going to signal you. That's if you maintain an eye contact. Most times they will nod. Most times they will say okay, okay, or sometimes they will just want to ask you the next question, and you notice obviously they want to ask a question and then you round up. So that's usually how, personally me, that's how I kind of picked that when I had to stop. You understand? But if you answer a question and then you give an explanation on it, more like a well detailed explanation on it, then it's okay. You've answered the question. The good thing they are looking that the thing they are extracting when you are answering a question is four things. The first thing is task response. They are checking if you responded, you understood the question and you answered the question. That's number one thing they are saying, they are recording or they are checking from you. You get a mark for that, for understanding the question, answering the question very well. Then the second thing is your coherence and cohesion. In that particular aspect, they are checking your structure. Now, your structure could be that there's some people they just tell story, beat around the bush. Some people they are fond of it, they answer the question and then they explain. That's a good structure. You answer a question, then they use explain. Some people can explain something, give reasons, and then tell their answer at the end. Some people will tell the answer at first, give explanation, and then link it back to the answer, which I think is even the best. I think Mr. Nicholas did that. He will answer the question, he will explain the question, and then he will link it back. Okay, that's why I will say he will not link it back. I think that's actually the best, so that you don't even go off point. You still remain at the topic that you're being asked. Then the third thing that you're being checked is your lexical resource. So that's where they're checking your vocabularies. And that's why I say, all these aspects you're getting marked. That's why I say, think about other words you could use instead of that particular thing. If they ask you, talk about your apartment, there are other vocabularies you could use instead of three-story building. I think you can use three-level house. I think three-level house is an alternative word for three-story building. Okay, apartment, you can say flat. So think of other words you could say instead of still saying that particular word over and over. So that's going to get you marked in your lexical results. Also, use of idiomatic expression can also help you get a better score in your lexical resource. Then the third one is your sentence. They're checking if you're making all these grammatical errors, your sentence, your also pronunciation is in your lexical resource. Your pronunciation of those words, not just bringing the words, your pronunciation. So you make sure that the word is appropriate, you pronounce it well, and of course you are getting more vocabularies, that's synonyms of different words or the words you're talking about. Then the last one is grammatical range and accuracy. Try to use past tense, present tense, and future tense. So it tells them you can use the different range of sentences. So that's also going to get you mark. And then let us know when you pause, when you give comma, don't just say it like once. So if there is a comma, of course, it should be noticed in the way you sound, so that so that your sentence will be all in place. So that's basically what they are marking you. They are not going to go and verify what you said. That's why I say you can't make up story. If they ask you a particular question and you don't know it, you have two options: either to make up story or to ask them politely that I've not really thought about this.
but I would think I would say, or maybe if I would talk about this, or maybe I would rather talk about this. So think about a topic that is kind of related to what you were asked. If you don't have anything to answer about that, you can simply say, I've not really talked about this. I'm not really a fan of this. I've not really had issues with this. I've not really had an encounter with this, but I would rather talk about. So you kind of can actually do that. They just want you to express yourself. Then sometimes they might ask you question you did not hear. If you did not hear the question that they asked you, you can also ask them to repeat the question. You know that you did not hear means they should repeat it. If you heard and you did not understand means they should rephrase it. So know how to ask well. Don't say pardon. Don't say come again. Don't say you say. Don't say eh. So when you did not hear, simply say, simply say, I'm so sorry, I couldn't hear what you said. Can you please repeat? It's better. If you heard and you did not understand, okay, if you heard and you did not understand, you can say, I'm so sorry. I didn't understand what you said. Can you rephrase? So rephrase means you should say that in a different way. Do you understand? So
Yes, ma'am.
ask it with a sentence. Don't say pardon. Don't say excuse me. Don't say come again. Don't say eh. Don't say you say. All right. So
Thank you.
it's not an interview. So they're not checking your formal words. It's not an interview. They'll still tell you it's an informal conversation. So you can, of course, be as free as they want to assess you in your natural environment. Smile to them so that they will see that yes, it's coming from you, and it will even give you courage to say more. Because once you smile at them, they'll smile back, and when they are talking with somebody smiling at you, you will talk more. So that's just one of the secrets you have to adopt. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank
I
you,
think
ma'am. Thank you.
yes, I think we just call it a night. All right, see you all. If you have more
Thank
questions, please drop it on the group. Now, I know that some people might have some question. It's fine. You can drop it on the group. I will attend to it. All right. Have a good night rest then.
you too, ma'am. Bye.